I guess all of that, as I confess to you now, you're probably the first person that has heard this because I guess I'm in good spirit. But those hardships of my life drove me to being an actor, although I graduated as a civil engineer to please my parents. But somehow that talent that nature, God, Buddha, whoever gave me, it just was sitting there, waiting to be expressed. And when I hit Hollywood, that one summer, the senior year in Minnesota, University of Minnesota, I came out trying to make it into show business with a comedy partner. His name was Don Parker, and we called ourselves Hong and Parker. We were too early for our times. Finally, Cheech and Chong made it. What can you do, you know? At that time, we couldn't do anything. We knocked on every door, but they said, ugh. They just didn't know what we were doing in Hollywood. So he gave up, and he became an insurance salesman. And then he started to get wise and know that it is best to own a business, right? So Don Parker began buying insurance and real estate, and now he's like worth 75 million or whatever.
Wow.
Whereas I'm just a poor little actor. And but in that one summer, I was just taking a vacation to try out in Hollywood to see what it's like. But I got on the Groucho Marx show.
Oh.
Wow.
That turned my whole life. Talk about events that turn your life around. So old Groucho Marx was with his cigar. Yes, Groucho Marx, that's me, you know. And so he was doing that life, what is it? You Bet Your Life.
You Bet Your Life.
Yeah, some of you may have heard of that.
Sure.
And they thought, well, this is kind of a good gimmick. We'll have James Hong as one of the contestants. And and even in those days now, reality shows are not truly reality. So what they did was they planted this Chinese American in there, and during the question, which was the honest questions, but in between the questions they would have me do impersonations. So I would do a Groucho Marx, that's me. And I would do a James Cagney, all right, you dirty. Wow, it's Jimmy Stewart.
Right, Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy Stewart.
Christmas time. I'm going to jump off the bridge. Things like that, I was very good at it because one of the reasons I was good at impersonations, and there's a very logical reason. In Minnesota, there was no place for a Chinese actor. When you think of that, that's how true it was. When I went to University of Minnesota, I wanted to join the drama club. They looked at me and I know what they were saying. They were whispering to each other, what kind of role are we going to give him? So they didn't want a Chinese guy to play some Caucasian role. Even in high school, I had that problem. So I took to doing voices for radio for a while. But I did audition for the Minnesota radio station. And they said, read this. So they gave me the sides and I read, fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's the giant, right?
Oh,
but I didn't
wow.
want it. I said, what's the use of performing and not being seen and just be a voice? So I refused to be just a voice. And so that summer when I came out and did the Groucho Marx show, I decided to quit University of Minnesota, graduated from SC as an engineer, and right away I got on a role in, and that's a big story. I got myself an agent first. And how did we get an agent? Talk about ingenuity. So Don Parker and I, my comedy partners, we come from Minnesota, right? So during Christmas time, we took our Minnesota gear, our stocking cap, and gloves, and we got some candles, and knocked at her door, lit the candles. Son. She was just dumbfounded. So she took us in, and you know, to her dying days, she really pushed me right up to the top as far as I could go. But right away, I got on the with Clark Gable on his movie, although I didn't have a scene with him. And then from there on, it went 1, 2, 3, 4 with John Wayne and Blood Alley, and then Jennifer Jones, Bill Holden, and Love Is a Mini Splendid Thing. And I just went to the studios constantly. It was like education at its highest for being an actor. I had some training in Hollywood, but being on those sets, I got about like 10, 12 roles a year. Being on Half Gun Will Travel,
Sure.
Clint Eastwood's The Californian or something. He had a TV series, Clint Eastwood. And I didn't get in one with Reagan. But you know, there was all kinds of TV things. You just had to constantly do TV. So you were pushed into being a professional. So between that background in Minnesota, I put that to work, of that underdog, and you fight and you keep climbing. And that's when I decided one day, I looked at the Chinese in Los Angeles on Spring Street, where they were going to get their costume at one of the buildings on Spring Street. And I said, well, why are you guys doing this? This one particular movie called Confessions of an Opium Eater. I said, we don't have to do this, you know. We got to speak up. This script was about opium eaters and girls being gay, girls. You know, it was just a terrible script. And that's when I formulated the first strike or protest. We didn't strike, we didn't have enough power. But we went up to Albert Sucksmith and said, sir, I don't think you should do this script, you know, or change it. He says, son, with or without you, I'm going to do this movie. That's what he said, and then I just walked out with my small group of people. But behind that, the rest of us start to formulate ourselves. And we formed groups like the East-West Players. We started out with nothing, and now it's thousands of people pour through the doors of East-West Players. Young people from all over the country, from all over the world, if they want, the Asians especially, want a chance to be an actor, they go to East-West Players. So that's how important it is for you people in Texas here to keep up your spirit and do something, because if you don't do something, who else is going to do it?
Amen.
Right? Nobody else is going to do it. You can't expect, hey, that guy's going to do it. Nobody's going to do it. You guys sitting at that table, you're the workhorses. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to stay up nights. And I formed the other group called APA, Asian American Pacifics for Advocacy, you know. And that went along beautifully, just like this group is now. By the time we were at our height, we rented the one of the big halls in Hollywood and had light shows and celebrities all over the place, red carpet, and that was our height. But after the group that started it sort of left the organization to go about other things, there wasn't enough young blood to keep that APA going. So the organization started to fade. East-West Players had enough backbone and young people to support it, and it grew. So that's the difference. I always learned that as a lesson. Aside from other groups, I have helped in so many ways. But now, it's a whole different ballgame. And on the horizon, what I see is Ang Lee with his movies, or Wayne Wang, or Jackie Chan. But fortunately and unfortunately, they're all the guys from Hong Kong and China. They're not the American Chinese. Why? Because nobody's really helping the American Chinese to push forward, you know, in the way they are. But the Kung Fu artists have made their best way into the movies because there's a crave for Kung Fu, you know. I'm doing this voiceover now for, like I say, Kung Fu Panda, and it's going to be a huge hit. They expect 1 billion people to see Kung Fu Panda.
Wow.
On Kung Fu, and it's a beautiful movie. It's got good moral by DreamWorks, and it's going to be released during the China Olympic time. So it's going to be a big, huge movie. But you need young people who will put their talent and efforts into something. Focus is what you need. I'm a teacher of acting in LA along with my daughter. I pass on my method of acting to her. And that's my main point in teaching is focus. Because if you don't have focus, you have nothing. Amen. It's like... It's funny, it's like that scene in Seinfeld that I did, that now has become a classic, you know. You walk into Seinfeld and here these 4 people have been doing, you know, their comedy for ages, and you're just a guest. And you walk into Seinfeld and you're expected to be as funny as they are, right? Otherwise, why are you doing that?
Right, right.
They hire James Hong to be as funny as they are. But how do you do that? I mean, you know, if you think of it too much, you would go like this. You wouldn't be able to perform, you know. But somehow I just do my role as the Chinese owner of the restaurant, as cliche as restaurant owners are. However, I just put what I know of Chinese restaurant owners, because my dad was a restaurant owner, and I was working as a delivery boy and noodle maker right in Minneapolis. So I had a lot of experience listening to the chatter of the Chinese, you know. So all that is ingrained in me. All the Chinese ways. At nighttime, I hear these waves. So, and my dad telling me what to do, you know. The noodle is too tough, too much eggs, and too much flour, and too much water, everything. So I just sit there in Seinfeld on my little podium, and I'm the king. So in a sense, no matter who you are, whatever you do, your role is the king, okay?
All right.
You gotta think of it that way, because if you don't, the other people will knock you down. Or you don't have the self-confidence. But if you think you are the king at your job, you'll win every time. How can you not? How can the king lose, right? It's all in the head and your talent and your training. And you hold your position, and when that lady comes up and offers me the $5, I simply fill the page and cover up her Elaine, I forgot her real name. But you know, but that flipping the page and covering up her dollar was my invention. In the script it doesn't say that. But once you focus, you're in that character, you do what is automatic, okay? And you play your role. As a result, it's one of the top 5 Seinfeld's classics ever. You know, and I'm very proud to be. Party of 4? Hey, I say, what is the name of that guy? Not Cassandra.
George.
Kramer?
Huh? Yeah, what was he?
Okay.
I say, Cartwright! Yeah, right. Cartwright! I say Cartwright, but you know, answer the phone, so I hang up. Finally, when they left the restaurant, I say, Seinfeld 4! But it was fun, and my reward in the industry comes not from getting an award, because I don't go get an Academy for those small roles or Emmy. It's when Seinfeld and Bill Cosby one day was sitting there like you guys were sitting there, and I'm coming up from behind after a rehearsal, and they both got up and thanked me for the job that I've done on their show. Bill Cosby, believe it or not, I was in his first series called I Spy. Do you remember that I Spy? Yeah. And Bill, I learned something from him. He was one of the first black men actors in Hollywood. And I was standing there outside waiting for my scene. I see this whole black crew all around. And that's the way Cosby worked. He would always watch out for his fellow man. He said, I won't work unless you hire and so forth, so forth, you know. He had power and he utilized it. And this is, you know, look at where he is now. He's always fighting for his rights and his people's rights. So again, he had that focus, the way he used his career, market himself, and then leverage himself into that series. And, you know, everybody follows him after that. He becomes a pioneer. So in a way, you people are on a pioneer step. You're just at a baby step. That's all you're doing, you know? Who knows what this thing will take you to? You can't tell. It's just like this beautiful young lady tells me about your light show here in 4th of July, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, you have the biggest light show. Well, that's the way it is with this organization. TexAsia has to grow and has to have a lot of people to stand behind it, one way or another. Nobody else is going to push it. And I wish you luck, you know. But never have an actor stand up here; they'll talk forever.
We enjoy it.
Can I translate this in Texasian?
Please.
Without heart, you can never make real music.
There you go. There you go.
I want everybody to know Lloyd Prince is here. He was invited, but he is a historian and has as much background in the Chinese community and the city of Houston as any Chinese I know. He grew up in the hood with all of us. Tell him something in Chinese. Say something in Chinese.
Yes. No, I tell you, until when James was speaking, everything that he said just rolled over and layered as in character. Not as in character actor, but as in character, the making of a person. And for me, that is living a story. Without a foundation, without a focus, without a connection with what made one be who they are, then actually no person, no project, no child can be born. And so I actually don't look at this as a beginning of a process. I look at this as being a native Houstonian, where now Houston might come to the level of becoming an international place for real people like these, versus a place where we'll say, well, this is my community where I'm this and I'm that. We can just open up our doors and our minds and our visions, and we can get so much more done, I know, together. And again, I'm so happy that in my community, we consider our people as friends versus adversaries. So no matter where I am, that's my approach. And the Kwan family, and they introduced me to people like James Hong. This brother's mother taught some of my brothers. You see, these guys are out of this. We are one love, one reality. And with that, there's nothing to separate us. You know, small things, distance and time are when they're between people like us. So every time we get together, I think, will make the world wake up eventually that Houston actually isn't a one-horse hick town. Houston is a place with real people.